Hi, Tim Myers with Myers Sewing. How are you today? Congratulations on the purchase of your new Celebrate Baby Lock Serger. Today we're going to go over some aspects of the machine, threading, parts of the machine, and learning more about how you're going to have fun with your new serger. Okay, your machine came with a quick reference threading guide chart. And it talks about the 4-thread overlock. That is the most common stitch that you will use. And I'm going to go over some of the settings that they talk about on the chart. The first one is called needles left and right. What that means, they're talking about the left needle, which in this case is the blue thread, and the right needle in this case is the red thread. So these are the needles. And when it says left and right, that means you're going to use both of them. So it came with 2 needles in the machine when you purchased your machine. The length of stitch is the next box, and the length of stitch is the largest knob down below here. And there's an indicator right here at the top. The adjustment will go from 1 up to 4, and here it's telling us 2.5 to 3.5. I typically put it at about 3. The next box is talking about the stitch width, and that is our smaller knob right here. The stitch width, 6.0 to 7.5 millimeters. You're looking at, there's our 6 and up to 7.5. There are 2 sets of numbers. You'll notice that 6, for example, and 3.5, that deals with if you were to remove, and you can remove the left needle, it's going to give you the smaller number width at 3.5 millimeters because you only have 1 needle in the machine. But with both needles as a 4-thread, then you're going to get the 6 millimeter stitch width. And the last box talks about the stitch selector. Because this machine has automatic thread delivery, and that means there are no tensions on the machine, it sets or delivers the amount of thread needed for the stitch type, in this case the 4-thread overlock, then the letter A would be your selection because it will now do a 4-thread stitch on all types of fabrics with a perfectly balanced stitch. All right, let's start with parts of the machine. First thing we talk about is the thread stand. This, when it came, you got it out of the box, the thread stand is in the down position. What you want to do, you want to bring it not there, but all the way up until it fully extends. And you'll notice that this antenna does twist. You want to make sure that it's even with the thread spools. Second thing I'd like to mention is the first thread guides right here on the top of the machine. And then we're going to talk about parts of the machine. We can open the door on the side. We can open this door like so. And then we're going to talk about inside the stitch width knob and the stitch length knob, okay? Machine is very easy to thread. It's called self-threading or jet air threading. So unlike other types of sergers, this machine you can thread in any given order. It doesn't matter if you start with the left needle or the right needle or the upper looper or the lower looper. And today I've chosen different colors of thread so that you can get a better idea of what part of the stitch does what. So let's go ahead and start with the green thread, and that is our lower looper. So we're going to take the thread from the thread cone, drop it over the first thread guide, which is located right here. Then our first thread guide is the far right, and we're going to take it, much like flossing your teeth, you're going to take the thread and go straight down and click it in position, just like that. You lay the thread down into the thread guide. And by the way, the presser foot should be always in the up position. So if it is down, take the lever and raise the presser foot up. We go to our catch the thread guide right here. And then we're going to talk about the threading ports. The threading port is where you put the thread in the port. And once that thread is in, you're going to push a pump lever and it's going to accelerate the thread through the threading system and thread it for you so you don't have to do anything else. There is a switch on the front of the machine, and there's a letter U, which stands for upper looper, which is our yellow. And there's an L, which stands for our lower looper, which is our green today. Just make sure that switch is in the position that you're going to thread. If it's lower looper, you want the switch to the L side, okay? We take our thread, I usually trim it off and put it in the threading port, which is right here. I pull a bit of slack in the thread, and then with my finger, I bring the thread in a little bit more into the threading port. All right, there we go. Once we have some thread in, we're going to push the threading lever. As I push the threading lever, it came through, but I made a mistake here. And I purposely did this because what happens right here, it went to this section of the machine, but it didn't go through the entire machine. So we're gonna clip that thread and take that thread out. I'm gonna show you exactly now what to do correctly, all right? We're talking about the threading. When you open the front cover of the machine, there's a threading chart decal that's on the inside of the cover. And it talks about threading. Number one, raise the presser foot. So we're gonna go back and reiterate, raise that presser foot. Number two, you can choose between needle threading or looper threading. And the needles are over here and the loopers are located over here. So today's purpose, we're gonna start with, for looper threading, step number two, to press the machine lock button. And they're referring to this button right here. And we touch it, we press it, it stays in. Step number three, turn the hand wheel to engage the threading tubes. The hand wheel is on the right-hand side of the machine, right below the green thread. You turn it towards you until the tubes line up right here, and you'll hear a click. Once you hear the click, you'll see that the tubes have engaged, and that's going to allow the thread to pass through the entire machine at this point. Step number four, set the lever to U or L. We discussed that a little earlier. This happened to me when I first got the machines many years ago. I was trying to thread the lower looper, and I had the switch on the upper looper side. Doesn't work, so just make sure if you're doing lower, press it to the lower looper side. It says now insert 1 inch of thread into the threading port. So once we've got it threaded here, we're going to put the thread in the thread port, which is right here. Push it in with your finger a little bit. And then step number 6 is push the pump lever. Now, if you pull a little excess thread, then the thread will come through the lower looper and you'll see it right there. It now has completely threaded itself with a whisk of air, basically. I find it easier to take the thread, when I'm going to get it back, I go under the presser foot and over the upper knife. This is called the upper knife. So under and over, and is now threaded. So that's all we do for the lower looper. To do the upper looper, which is the yellow, you flip the switch to U, take our thread, go to our next thread guide. Here again, you hear the click, like flossing your teeth. Back behind the thread guide, located right here. And now we're going to cut the thread and do the same thing as we did with the lower looper. Let me show you something here. I'm not going to pull much slack in the thread, and I'll show you, if you do that, it's okay. I'll show you what to do. We push the pump lever, but the thread did not come out the end of the upper looper. That's because we only have maybe that much thread where we may need that much thread. So all you have to do is take and grab and pull more thread on the yellow, press the looper, threader again, and it then threaded itself. For this situation, to put the thread underneath the foot, I go to the left of the needle, underneath the presser foot, and now it's taken care of. Okay. At the end, most, including myself, I have forgotten to do the last step, just step number 7. It talks about disengaging the lever. The lever is located right here, because currently, if you try to turn the hand wheel, the machine is in a locked position because it's in the threading position. If you push the threaded lever to the right, it now frees the machine so that we can now thread the needles. So if we go for our needle threading portion of the machine, we have already raised the presser foot, so just reassure you did that again. Step number 2 is align the handwheel mark on the belt cover. And what they're talking about, there's a line on the belt cover on the machine. It's a green line. And there's a green line on the handwheel, which is located right here. If you line those two up, such as this, that will put the needle bar in the position it needs to be in order to use the automatic needle threader. This is the needle threader for the needles, and there's a switch. You'll see this little part of the needle threader, and it flips left and right. So if I flip it to the right, I would then thread the right needle. If I switch it to the left side, it would then do the left needle. It doesn't matter which one you choose. I think out of habit, I usually go red, which is the right needle, and blue, which would be the left needle. So let's flip it to the right and see how that goes, okay? We take our thread, the red thread, to our next position, right here on the thread guide, right there. Again, hear that click. And right now we're gonna go under, on the back side of that hook, under here, like so, up and around. Next thread guide on the needle clamp. It now says set the lever to L or R. We've already done that. Excuse me, right here, L or R. And lower the needle threader. And we're gonna also lower the presser foot. Let's just, before I do that, I wanna show you what's happening. When I bring this lever down, there's a little threader hook that's coming right through the eye of the right needle. And that's going to thread our thread. I find it very easy to take my middle finger of my left hand, press down on the lever, take my forefinger and make a cradle, and then when I put the thread underneath, it pulls the thread right through the eye of the needle. To get that off, it does come with tweezers, and we'll get those in a little bit, but you really don't have to. You can just grab the thread right like so and put it underneath the presser foot, such as that. Okay, now we're going to thread our left needle, which would be the blue. Take the blue thread up over the thread antenna on our last thread guide, straight down, you hear it click. But we're not going to go here, that's only for the right needle. But there is a little cutout right there, a little thread guide, under, up and around, same place, back behind, and we need to flip our switch to the left side. Now we're going to do the left needle. Same thing, down, in, and it pulls it through. Raise the presser foot, take the thread off the threader hook, and we've now threaded the machine. Okay, now we've got the machine threaded. Let's do a 4-thread stitch. And you'll notice back here we have a thread cutter, so continue chaining off, that's what we call chaining off, and then take the thread and it will cut right there. And here you have a beautiful overlock stitch, and what's kind of cool about this, I'm not sure if you can see, but you have the blue thread, which is your needle thread, and that's what we call our seam thread. And we have our right needle, which is an extra strength. The yellow is the top part of the overlock stitch on the upper side of the fabric. And then the green stitch would be the underneath side or the bottom side of your overlock, okay? And what we can do is you go to different types of fabric. Here I've got a couple layers of denim, and as you run the machine, know their adjustments. And again, you'll have a perfectly balanced stitch on the denim. If you go to a knit fabric, this is Lycra, very stretchy like activewear. We'll put it in the stretchiest part. And that works as well. Again, a very nice stitch. Let's show you, this is a feature that's kind of really cool. Let's say you want to do some gathering. Really, all you have to do is adjust the stitch length, which is the larger knob. Put that on number 4. And this feature we've not talked about yet. It's referred to as the differential feed. There are lower or smaller settings on the numbers here, 0.6. 2 clicks up, so if we were all the way down, this is your adjustment lever. 1 click up, 2 clicks up. That's the neutral or normal position. And then we have all the way up, which is number 2. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it on number 2, which is going to make the machine gather more, because we have 2 sets of feed teeth on this machine. We have one located in the rear, which is adjusted by the stitch length, and we have one in the front, which is adjusted by our differential feed lever. So currently, we can now run the machine on a single ply of fabric, and we're going to get gathering. You can start to see how it's gathering up the fabric. And there produces a nice little gather. Okay? The next step, we're going to stop for a minute, and we'll come back into what we call the rolled hem, such as a napkin edge. I wanted to point out, some of our customers will call on the phone, and in their instruction booklet, it talks about the parts and pieces you get with the machine. Well, they are there. I just want to show you where they're at. You'll see them, they tell you about, they're in the book, but they're located, there's a hidden compartment here right under the green thread. If you lift up with your finger right here and then pull out, you'll find those are the parts that you're looking for. And in here you have cleaning brush, tweezers, and a few other items. So we're going to bring that out. And most importantly, though, is we've had this mistake. Don't leave it at this point. You want to close this door and lock it back in place. The machine can give you some interesting tensions if you leave it out. So make sure you close it back in, okay? Now we're going to do a rolled hem. A rolled hem you'll find if you go to a restaurant, you'll see the napkin edge. That is referred to as a rolled hem. Sometimes you see it on the bottom of skirts, tops, things of this nature. So in order to accomplish that, all we're going to do is we're going to take our screwdriver that came with the machine, the black handle, and we're going to loosen the screw on the left needle. We're going to actually loosen just about a half a turn. And what I like to do is I like to leave the thread in the needle so that if you, or when you bring the needle out of the needle clamp and it falls out of your hand, it's still attached. I'm going to do that purposely. I'm going to bring it out and just let it go, and you can now see that the needle is still attached to the thread. And that eliminates the needle going down inside the machine. If that does happen, it's okay. I'm going to tip the machine up a little bit, and you'll see there's a little door right here that slides out, and the needle will be inside this little door. That's kind of cool, and you can see where it just slides back in and ready for the next needle to, no, I'm just teasing. So if you keep it threaded such as this, you're not going to have that issue. Hold on to the needle, clip the thread, take the needle out, and I would highly recommend that you take the thread out of the machine as well, okay? So get the thread out of the machine. Now we have to set up our machine for a 3-thread overlock stitch. On your chart, it talks about the 3-thread rolled hem. And don't forget about the little yellow boxes where we're going to make changes on the machine for the settings so that we'll get a great rolled hem. And the first one it talks about is needles right. And that simply means we're going to use only the right needle, not the left needle. By the way, something to remember, let's go back to that left needle for a minute. I would take, that screw is loose, so I would take your screwdriver and just snug it up. You don't have to tighten it very tight. Therefore, it won't vibrate out. And if it does, don't worry, because in your little accessories that are underneath the lower looper thread, there is two screws that come with the machine, which are identical to the ones in the needle clamp. So you have extras. All right, needle right side. Length is 0.75 2 for R. R is the key word here, or a key letter. In that on the stitch length dial, you rotate it toward you until it goes into the rolled hem setting. Previously it was in the standard setting, which is normal for or 3-thread stitching. But it's now in the rolled hem setting, and now that stands for R, and I put it on about 1 to 1.5 R, and that's kind of where I start with that rolled hem. We've got a couple more settings. We've got our width at 3.5, so we're going to bring this down to the 3.5, right about there at M, which is normal. And the last setting is our stitch selector. Open your door, and it talks about the letter D as in David. So we're going to click that over until we get to the letter D, and we're ready to go. So let's do a rolled hem. You do want to cut while you're doing this. Oh, by the way, I forgot to adjust my differential feed lever back down to normal. You'll start to see that as you sew. And I always suggest that you, before you actually do the garment, is try this on a sample, a scrap piece of fabric, and make sure everything's working prior to the actual garment. You'll be a happier camper for sure. And I love it with the machine. You can run it as fast as you want or as slow as you want. And we've got a really nice rolled edge right here. And that's what you'll see in napkin edges. Okay. After this, we're going to do a little maintenance. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about maintenance, taking care of your machine. In your accessories, it came with a cleaning brush. And this is great for cleaning out the lint. So we're going to open the front cover and then the knife cover. And by the way, when they say knife or knives, this is the knife, this is the upper knife right here, and you're going to see a fair amount of lint that gets accumulated in that area. So take your cleaning brush, clean here. Basically anything you can see the lint. I've had questions regarding canned air, compressed air, canned air. That's your choice. If you'd like to use that, that's fine. I do want to caution you though that when you use the canned air, it's going to push the lint and the fuzz back inside the machine. When I work on the machines, and I've been doing this for about 52 years, I remove all the covers so I have access to cleaning and blowing out the lint in a different manner so I can get all of it out of the machine. If you'd like to use it, that's fine. We have a question about oiling. In your instruction booklet under the maintenance section of the machine, it talks about non-oiling. The machine already has oil in the metal parts, and that's perfectly fine. My opinion of that is I think a drop of oil is going to work just fine. If you would choose to oil the machine, then this upper looper shaft bar right here is where I would place the oil. And I think by doing that, you're just preserving the life of the machine. Okay, so that basically does it for our tutorial and the video today. As always, if you have any questions, please give us a call at 719-596-1165. Stop in the store if you're in the area. If you have any questions about the machine, I'm always happy to help. And that will conclude the operation of your new machine. If you have any questions again, just give us a call. Hey, thanks for watching.